Welcome to the afternoon session, which is Education, Workforce, and Regulatory Matters in Novel, Nano, and Precision Drugs. My name is Anil Patri. I'm from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. I'll be chairing this session and maybe provide a brief introduction on the needs in education and workforce development. We have an excellent session with speakers from academia, regulatory agencies, and industry, and then there are different needs, and then training needs, and so we will have an excellent session that captures the needs in this field. So as you know, the emerging technologies, including nanotechnology, they're all converging together. If you are looking at 3D printing and many other new technologies that come through are now incorporating nanomaterial nanotechnologies, either for drug delivery, early disease detection, imaging agents, multifunctional nanomaterial where they have a targeting ligand, a therapeutic payload. These are not concepts. They were concepts 20 years ago, but some of them are already in clinical trials. At FDA, we have seen a gradual increase in submissions of products containing nanomaterial over the last 40 years. And over the last 10 years or so, there is a significant increase, not only in the number of submissions, but also on the complexity of these submissions. So the challenge is, how do you train people in doing reproducible science, which is important for regulatory purposes, but also taking any product into either clinical trials or beyond. What methods to use, what characterization methods to use, what kind of instrumentation to use. If you look at size measurement, for example, there are maybe at least 10 different ways that you could measure size, and each of those measurements would give you a different set of answers. So when you train your students in academia, there are certain ways that you have to analyze, not only in a batch mode measurement, but you have to use flow mode measurements to look at the polydispersity of the sample. Because in a batch mode measurement, it almost looks identical from batch to batch, but then when you go into the biology, in vitro, in vivo studies, you see differences in efficacy, differences in safety. So one needs to understand what factors are responsible beyond size and surface characteristics, the drug release profiles, the composition, the purity, and how do you measure all this? And especially at a time when we see every year new novel instrumentations are coming up. So then how do you utilize them? How do you train yourself? That's one challenge. But for regulators, it's also we have to be prepared. We cannot say you have to use this instrument, and if a new instrument, new company comes up with a better measurement, then we have to understand how that measurement works, and then look at and understand how we can regulate those and ask appropriate questions. So for FDA, and my colleague is going to talk right after me, this training in new tools and methods is very critical, because eventually we hope to have standards developed in that area in collaboration with stakeholders. We have within FDA, we have many training programs to teach our own scientists, our own reviewers. Every year we have what is called a hands-on nanotechnology training, where we show them the instrument, and not only the instrument, but then once you get the data, how to analyze the data and what data to report. And if the submissions come through, how do you look at the data and then ask appropriate questions so that the developers of these technologies can come back with a more reproducible data set that we are comfortable with for safety and efficacy as well. So within FDA, we also expanded this training through the International Pharmaceutical Regulators Forum, as well as a global summit for regulatory science in training international regulators. We started with Health Canada. We provided the same kind of training to Health Canada. And then now we are going to provide the training to Indian regulators next month. And we worked collaboratively throughout because these are not coming from one country, they are coming from all over. So having that kind of collaboration is critical for us. So again, this session will cover these needs in the workforce development, as well as the training opportunities. So we have an excellent panel of speakers. So I will first introduce Dr. Frank Weichel. He's my colleague from FDA, from the Office of the Commissioner. And he's going to talk about regulatory matters in nano and precision medicine, regulatory clinician to practicing clinician. And he's a clinician, so Frank.